Hi, my name is Stas, and today I will share the story that starts with two Ys, continues to the cool facts about second generation satellites like internet without satellite dish, then twists into the mystery of the latest deployments to orbit, and finishes up with the major goal that SpaceX is trying to achieve. So, why now and what is cool about Starlink second generation satellites? The second generation will bring big and fancy new antenna with ability to use satellite internet from your GSM phone anywhere in the United States. And the second reason is that the first two batches of satellites deployed to the low orbit are not what they seem to be, and it is quite interesting fact. So let's quickly cover the main difference between first and second generations. Second generation satellites are twice as large and have three different sizes and weight categories. The small one is about 300 kilograms, medium one is about 800 kilograms, and the king size one weighs whopping 2 tons and the biggest of them all. The cost of production will also be twice as much, around $2 billion. With the next generation, SpaceX is becoming more like a commercial version of NASA, by bringing many new vendors for building isolated components like swarm technologies for their GSM model. All this is awesome news for production and business scalability, because the first generation satellites were built solely by SpaceX, well, except for the small parts from other NASA vendors. The new GSM antenna will be roughly 25 square meters big and will allow to consume internet from their mobile phones from any point in the United States of America. The improved laser satellite communication system will allow low latency communication between nearby 4 satellites. They will be working in a group of 4, but this number can be changed in the future. The fancy laser comm requires fine positioning of satellites to keep them in formation, which might be sometimes tricky. The new electric propulsion system allows them to stay almost twice as long in orbit for up to 10 years, and that would further improve return of investments for the company and bring more dollars to the SpaceX research and development budget, which is a cool thing from my perspective. The top-tier 2-ton satellite, also known as bus Starship, are intended only for deployment via new Starship spaceship and cannot be fitted onto the smaller Falcon 9 rockets. The second gen have much lower operational orbit altitude, around 330 kilometers, which is about 100 kilometers lower than the first generation. This is needed for lower latency and the new GSM communication capability. GSM will use part of existing 900 GHz range spectrum approved for T-Mobile. The lower orbit and latency are great, but this also means that satellites will have the smaller broadcast range, so the full Earth coverage will require more satellites than before. The low latency is not that important for domestic usage, because satellites on the geostationary orbit of 35,000 kilometers have latencies around 300 milliseconds, which is exact latency I played online game 15 years ago. No big deal for me. Maybe it will be big deal for you. The speed factor for GSM connection on the ground is expected to be around 5 megabits only. So it will not provide the same high-quality broadband internet connection as Starlink satellite dish, but it will solve connectivity problems and allow watching of YouTube with some buffering at least. Also, this partnership between T-Mobile and SpaceX will bring additional Starlink dishes to the remote areas to improve connection quality and latency for thousands of people. And now switching to the mystery around second generation deployments. The strange thing is that we don't know what exactly launched on December and January with Falcon 9 rockets. It is not a 2-ton heavy satellites because they are too big for a Falcon, nor they are 800 kg medium version because they are too heavy for the Falcon, and also not the smallest one because deployment batch. So what exactly SpaceX deployed to orbit? Judging from the lift capacity of Falcon rocket, they are some kind of a hybrid version of the first and second generation satellites that were deployed to the destination orbit of 336 kilometers, which is exactly orbit approved for the second generation satellites. Also, it seems that FCC approved the new type of version 2 satellite with roughly the same weight and size as the 0.5 version of the first constellation. And this might be just older satellites deployed to the second constellation to keep up with delivery schedule. Another part of the puzzle is that first generation constellation is more than 25% incomplete at the moment, And I think there will be no deployments of the first generation, and it will remain in the same incomplete state on the orbit until the end of life period. And now let's talk about obstacles and alternatives. It seems that FCC regulator will not allow deployment of entire number of satellites for the version 2 constellation. So the SpaceX will have to find some creative approaches to solve this problem, like not covering territory of Russia and China with internet. Delays with the Starship also put holes for version 2 heavy satellites, because they are reliant on the rocket size and payload capacity. There is no guarantee of particular speed or latency with the Starlinks, but still everyone who needs an uplink will be fine, because the primary purpose is to connect people even without satellite dishes. There is always an alternatives like AST Space Mobile Terminals, an exotic variant for those who really need them, so as Iridium satellite network dishes that are reliable and has proven global reach for a huge price. So the future. The Starlink got massive attention because of its usage by Ukrainian defense forces. This hugely boosted adoption and skyrocketed terminal sales, which is a good sign. US governments see the perspective in the Starlinks too, and it's one of the primary buyers of terminals for the full price, around $1,500. As you might know, retail terminal selling price are 3 times cheaper because of the included discount. So, the summary. The Starlink is a great thing to buy, because it is an investment to the future of the SpaceX research and development programs. The second generation will bring a stable source of money in the coming years and will allow Elon to buy another Twitter or colonize the Mars. Time will tell.